Good morning, everyone. Going out for my morning walk again and chance to talk to all of you. Well, the world is getting to be even crazier. It's like every day they're coming up with something new. And I can tell you from plenty of anecdotal experience, there's nothing you can do to reach anybody if God hasn't already prepared them. You know the old cartoon. I've never seen it in person, but I've seen the cartoons where you have the ostrich running around and he gets scared and he buries his head in the sand. I suppose that's based on something. I've been told before that I think they're actually just putting their head to the ground but not burying it in the sand. But in any case, we've got that, and we've got our three monkeys: hear no evil, say no evil, and see no evil, thinking that you can hide from it by simply covering it up. They don't want to know the truth. They're comfortable with the lies. The lies give them what they want, not what they need. And if we show up and try to spoil it, they put their hands over their ears. I don't want to hear. Get away from me. And they might, be nice and pleasant the first time they say that. But they will actually get very irate if you keep it up. So you got to make sure that you're talking to people the right way. God has to prepare them. I'm looking to see if I can get to my spot. There's people down there early. Yeah. I think I can get there eventually. So we're going to look a little bit about that. Why are people like that? We know that, and I'm going to get to these scriptures here in a little bit, but Jesus warned us about deceivers and false Christs and false teachers. They'd rather hear the lie. And Satan doesn't, Satan doesn't have to just outright lie. He just bends the truth. But it seems like lately, it's just outright lies. Lies that are so absurdly false that a 3-year-old could figure it out. We've got more and more ways to hide the lies. We got all these chatbots coming out. Each one has a different way of providing you information. Is the information factual? If you don't know the subject and you ask about it, it may not be. I can get to my chair, my swing, so I'm heading over to it. For me, it's a relaxing place to sit and talk. All right, let me go get set up and then I'll be back with you. All right, here I am. A couple of people that were down in this area, they got done seeing the sights and left. I also want to say, I noticed that I'm in my red shirt a lot. I don't wear this every day, all day. It's just this covering for the morning shoots because I get out here and it's still cold. The sun's up now, you can see it on my face, so I'm about ready to take it off. Maybe I can get the video done before I do. I may take it off certainly before I walk back up the hill, because this is downhill from my campsite. All right, so we're talking about how do we get the word out to a world that has got their blinders on? I mean, Animals in general work that way. If you've got, we've got the ostrich. This happens with a lot of birds, whether it's a falcon or whatever. You want to control them, you put a little hood. You watch a falconer when they're walking out with their bird. They've got a hood on their eyes so they can't see. They're happy and content. They're not ready to do anything but just sit there and hold on. And when they get there and they're ready to go to work, or they're going to play or practice, they take the hood off. People are like that too. And Satan has got the hood on the whole world right now. So let's take a look at some scriptures and see how God does this. I am going to start in the beginning, in Genesis. We're going to see that there's a very definite tie-in to what happened in Genesis and what's going to happen now, or what is happening now. There's a tie-in. It's all tied together. This thread is going through from the beginning to the end. And we know God's been around from the beginning and will be around through the end. He designed this timeline. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to read Genesis 11. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. There is a convenience to that. But if you want to fill the world, which was the commandment to Noah and his descendants, you can't stay together. You've got to separate and go out. And that was God's intention. But the people at the time had a better idea in their mind. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, Plain, no airplanes. And they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. They knew quite a bit about this. This isn't something that just happened. And there's also a lot of people. So this isn't right after they got off the boat. Don't know how long. Doesn't really give us a time frame. "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." See, that was their problem. Just the opposite of what God wanted. "But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language." And this is what they began to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. God was going to let them do what they wanted to do, but he wanted it done all over the earth. So his solution, "Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad over the whole face of the earth, and then they ceased building the city. But they started building it. I wonder if anything we've seen has been the Tower of Babel. People tend to want to build things higher and higher. We've got the ziggurats and we've got the pyramids. And we've also got similar type construction in South America. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore the name is called Babel, because the Lord confused their language of all the earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the earth. Okay, so they couldn't understand their language. They'd be separate groups. And we look around the world now, and we have many countries with many languages. a lot of them are all based on the same foundation, but they're different. I've talked about it, that Hebrew and Spanish, or that type of word formations, they're very, very similar. Backward modifying, White House, house white, from English. We're the odd man out. Most of the world speaks with backward modifiers. The Orient is another exception. Okay, so we want to look at another example of this. Romans 1. And I have 27 marked here. Let's see if I can. I'm going to go back to 22 and start there. Or do I want to go further back? Okay, anyhow, 22. Professing to be wise, they became fools. That's our world. Men can have babies now. If that isn't the most foolish, stupid, ignorant, dumb, crazy thing for people to say today. They're doing it on purpose. It's getting everybody agitated and angry, and they're trying to stir up strife. They can keep us busy fighting amongst themselves. We won't fight with them when they start pulling their big stuff. It's very easily understood, but not for the world who's got their head buried in the sand. Okay. Professing to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man. In this case, we're talking about idols. Most of the worship going on back then, whether it's Baal or any of the other ones, it was idol worship. Even in Rome, it was idol worship. They had these statues of all the Roman gods and all the marble statues of men posing in interesting poses sometimes. It was all about the world and earth and man. It wasn't about God. When they started the Olympics back then, again, to show off the physique, most of the competitions were nude. I don't know, people go to events now and they don't have to be naked, so I don't know why they felt that was necessary, but they did. Okay, therefore God also gave them up to uncleanliness in the lusts of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for a lie. Boy, that describes this time better than anything. No. We're told about it in the Bible 2,000 years ago. Do you think God knows what's happening? Absolutely. Exchanged their God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Like I said, they admired the human physique more than the God that created it. For this reason, God gave them up to vile passions. For even their women exchanged the natural use for what is against nature. I'll talk about homosexuality. It's in the Bible. They just don't want to accept it. For even their women exchanged natural use for what was natural. Likewise, also men, leaving the natural use of the women, and burned in their lust for one another, men with men, committing what is shameful. It's there. Now, it's no different than any other sin. So don't put any sin up on a pedestal. It's all sin. We've all come short of the glory of God. And without Jesus, we can't proceed. But with Jesus, all sin can be forgiven. So, hate the sin, love the sinner. But don't give in to their stupid ways. Men committing what is shameful and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which was due. I think that's all I have on that. Yep. Okay, and now I had the commentary in here marked. Let me go ahead and read this. The commentary title is Don't Suppress the Truth. Even before you became a Christian, the battle raged for your worship. Paul described the wrath of God against those who would suppress the truth. Humanity once worshipped and fellowshiped with God and had no doubts about his existence. Genesis 3:8. After the fall, people suppressed the truth about God, even though they knew he was real. Burying your head in the sand. The passage indicates that God can be known in two clear ways, from the inside and from the outside. First, people are without excuse for rejecting God because what may be known of God is manifest in them. When we say, what about people who've never heard the Word of God? We've heard it inside. That's why there's all kinds of gods worshipped all over the world. People who are in tribes that are down in South America and places that have never, New Guinea, they've still got cannibals over there. There are people living in ancient times now. But they know about God. They just don't know who he is. And there are people that go down there to try to tell him. Second, people are without excuse for rejecting God because his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by things that are seen. Look around. This has to be a creation. It cannot be happenstance, luck. Crawling up out of a primordial sea and we're related to apes. It's dumb. It's as dumb as the stuff they're saying now. But they didn't know because they rejected God and were looking for a way to create the universe without God. And so they made up their stories. And they're dumb. Okay, there's more to it, but the bottom line to all this is there's no excuse. If people can join in on this stuff, they're just totally brainwashed. I've got one more bit of reading to do, but I just kind of wanted to talk about this. If they reject God adamantly, then God will take his hands off of them and let them believe anything, whether it's vile, contemptuous, foolish, stupid, it doesn't matter. He's going to let them do whatever they want to do until they turn back to God. Now the good news is, it doesn't matter how far away from God you try to get. All you have to do is turn around. God will be right there. So that's the good news for the people. But too many people don't want to look back. They buy into the lie and they go running with it, and they don't want anybody else to tell them that they're wrong. People don't want to know the truth when they're in that state. And you're not going to be able to give it to them, no matter how much you try. You will just have to be patient and let God work on them. That goes for family members and friends too. It doesn't matter. If they want to believe the lie, you can't do anything about it. So that's why you've got to make sure that you don't push people like that away. You can push them away by being too adamant about your belief. You're supposed to teach people and correct them with gentleness and kindness. So that these people still, even though they know you're a kook, That's what they think. Jesus freak, whatever they call you. They still would like to have you around because you're generally pleasant to have around. But if you're mean and crotchety and you tell them you're going to go to hell and you're going to burn in hell and that's the way your life is and you're full of sin and you're just a terrible person and you need to stop right now, they're not going to listen. They're going to shut you out, and they're going to reinforce their belief that their belief is right because look what it did to you. I don't want to be like a crazy fool like that person. You got to be crafty and clever. Satan won his battles by being crafty and clever, and that doesn't mean that we copy him. But people will buy into something if it's not forced down their throat. You know, you give it to them nicely. We're told to be fishers of men. You basically need to trap people. And what do you use? The Word of God. Both in the teaching and in the delivery. Now, some people can use, pep talks. There are preachers that are very highly motivated and speak very positively, and they are out there and they may be up on stage yelling. Sometimes people need that, but it's usually going to be those that are already Christians. And if somebody's sitting on the fence, that also might work for them to get them off the fence. But you could also chase them over the other side to hide from you. So we saw in Genesis that Babylon the Great was confused and separated and sent off on their different ways. God did not kill them. So they scattered around the world. Every one of us probably to some degree has a heritage back to Babylon. We all have a heritage back to Noah. And we all have a heritage back to Adam. But we live today, so what we do today will be somebody's heritage later. Help people, but with kindness. Now, I did want to go into Revelation a little bit. You should be very familiar with these. I didn't mark it. So let's see if I can get to it quickly. Now, was it Revelation 17, I think. Okay. Actually, I'm back in Revelation 5. And on her forehead was written, Mystery, Babylon. I've mentioned this before. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw a woman drunk with the blood of saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Christians will have to suffer. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. Okay, then the angel said, Why did you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which is the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that you saw was and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. Well, in Hebrew it's abandoned. In Greek it's Apollyon. It's one of the biggest, baddest guys out there that was ever on the earth. So bad that they've kept him locked up in a bottomless pit. He's going to become the Antichrist. When one dies and comes back, and those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. And they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. So the Antichrist is out there now. When he dies, he's killed. When he comes back to life, he will have that Apollyon in him. And he will be then the big A Antichrist. He's out there working now. We've seen him. We all know that he's out there, but we don't know who he is. and you can guess your name till you're blue in the face. It doesn't matter. You're not going to know. Because one, he's not infected yet with the polyon. It's not ready. And we got to be out of here because we would recognize him, which would keep him from doing what he's supposed to do. We're the restrainer, remember? Okay, he has a mind which is wisdom, the 7 heads of the 7 mountains on which the woman sits, Babylon the Great. There are also 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet to come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th. Okay, so that's just telling us about the beast and the Antichrist working together. Initially, the beast, the Antichrist, known as the beast, essentially allows the harlot to set the world up. And that's what's happening right now. The world is being set up, indoctrinated. We've talked about this. You can't stop it because they won't listen. We're not supposed to stop the world from running off the end of the cliff. We're supposed to pick the people out of it whose names are in the book of life. We're to help rescue them. And they already know what you're pulling somebody out of the frying pan. They don't want to go into the fire. They already know what their world's like. Don't make them think that our world is just as bad. It's not. It's heaven. It's the best thing. But they've been lied to. Look what the media does. If they don't like what someone's saying about them, they create lies. When we've tried to get judges on the Supreme Court, out of the woodwork come all these women who said they had affairs with this person, that he treated them badly and all this stuff. And after it's over with and he's either elected or he goes back into obscurity, these women all disappear with whatever money they were given or whatever promises they were given. Nothing ever comes of it. That's how they deal with people they don't like. They discredit them. They lie, which is Satan's biggest tool. And the lies can be little, they can be great. Satan has been good at it for many years. And he knows us, not as well as God, but he knows us. He knows human nature, I guess I should say, better than us. And we've all got a human nature. So he knows what we desire. We all desire basically the same things. And Satan knows how to play on those. Your only protection is to keep in the Word. We've got 2 jobs. Stay as close to God as we can through Jesus and help save those that haven't quite made it yet. We're running out of time. We've been talking about this for a long time, many years now. I mean, they've been looking for the rapture from Paul's time. So there's no argument that it was possibly pre-trib because he thought it was supposed to be for him, in his generation. But it didn't happen. So the pre-trib is still out there. We're not in the tribulation. These are the birth pains, the wars and rumors of wars, and pestilence. We've had all this stuff. We're still seeing it, and it's getting increasingly worse. Nobody's noticing. The government doesn't want people to notice. Our earthquake predictor, Dutch Sense, does a good job of letting us know the ripple effect of earthquakes around the world. Many people have known that for a long time. I've known it for a long time, that that's how the earthquakes work. They bounce in and come back up. They're waves. But he's pretty good at predicting them. They try to shut them up. And they do successfully shut them up from time to time. They don't want the world to be aware that things are getting worse. They want us to think we're in paradise already. And I don't mean the paradise of hell. That's already emptied out. Just Shangri-La. Don't be worried. Don't be afraid of the lies. But don't confront them head on. Keep an eye out. I talk to everybody I can. And I can talk and I can know within about 5 minutes or less whether the Word of God will be receptive. If it's receptive and we're all Christians, we have a good talk. But if they're not interested, I say things. If they don't follow up with a question or a comment that shows their position, they're not ready. Plant the seed and go on. We don't have time to go to every human being on the face of the earth individually. So we got to do this as a group. Even in Israel, you can't take a few individuals over there. There are Christians there. There are Messianic Christians there. But God's going to dedicate 144,000 to them, along with the 2 witnesses. But that's in the tribulation once we're gone. And there's going to be an angel going around taking care of things. There's 4 angels holding back the damage. I've already got my next video I'm planning on talking about. We're going to look at all the bad stuff coming. The really bad stuff. And it's bad. You don't want to be here. So if you're not a Christian, you'd better accept Christ quickly. We've talked about that in the past. Our urgency is to get you to accept Christ now and not wait. Yeah, if we all knew the exact date that we're going to be raptured, people could misbehave all the way up to that date and be like the thief on the cross. He was about to die talking to Jesus, and Jesus says, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." This is before he emptied it. That's cutting it close. Because those 3 weren't the only people raptured. He was up there with 2 thieves, Jesus was. And in a city that big, there's more thieves. And there's murderers and all kinds of other bad people that they were crucifying. That was their way of doling out punishment. But obviously it wasn't a deterrent because there were 2 thieves. You see something like that, that would keep you from wanting to be a thief, but it didn't. Satan's very good at pulling the blinders over people's eyes. All right. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.